I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. If, and this is where I definitely agree with Sundiata, if he in fact was that conscious and aware of the final product, and we couldn't at the time, I felt it, but we couldn't. Certainly, I don't think we could make the argument in print. But in the years since, listening to Wendy Wolf, the editor, and her presentations on the book, and seeing the feeble condition Marable was in that last video where he's holding up the book, I could easily see how he wouldn't have been able to be aggressive or competently, involved enough. And then also politically, it's a departure from so much of his other work. So that's why that's the other thing that was always struck me as a problem with what was done with this book. But I just want to say I'm very glad that we did this because I was confident, and I think it's been shown to be correct that Marable's book would be echoing negatively for years. And I was wanting to have us be part of documenting some sort of attempt to resist and challenge it. So I like it. And Todd, I think you pointed this out to me. I like when you go to Wikipedia and find, the Marable book, our book is listed. Even when Netflix hated on us. And Baba Zak, I definitely want to ask you about this because I'm not going to lie. I'm not at you, obviously. I would never be mad at you, but I was mad to see that you and Brother Bailey were in there. And to see what was done. So I would definitely want to ask you about that because there's that one scene, and personally I was offended that they did it in DC at Sankofa Books, that I spent many years building in that spot, many years working with people in that spot. Never saw none of the brothers involved with the Netflix documentary in that space, but they come and use that space to hate on us, where you see him they have the two books, ours and Marable's, juxtaposed on the shelf, and it's a quick scene where they go in and they grab Marable's book and say, "No, this is the one you want." And I was just like, man, that is so. And meanwhile, they're interviewing Brother Bailey and Baba Zak as keynote historians for the piece. Anyway, anyway, my point is, I'm very glad. Paul, go ahead.
Jared,
go ahead.
I just want to Zak, can I just ask Jared something real quick? Because he said something. He said he would never be mad at you. He said he would never be mad at you. I've never heard him say that before. He'd never be mad. So that's nice. That's all I want to say, Jared.
Imagine me getting mad at Baba Zak. That would be insane. The point I was mad at how I thought that they were doing him and the rest of us. That's what I thought. So and then Baba, when you said what you said in your initial response to when you saw the Netflix piece, I felt vindicated. But anyway, please, if you would, talk a little bit about maybe that experience, and then anything else about how the response you've seen to your work or our work or any of this.
Right. Yeah. First off, the Netflix piece, if I could, I would airbrush every scene that I was in it. I regret it was a mistake on my part. I've been in a lot of documentaries, Malcolm, the Black Panthers, different things like that. This is the only documentary that I've ever been in that I realized it was a mistake. But I didn't know it was a mistake, in part because I didn't do my homework. The first mistake that I made, and normally I would do this, and I can't figure out why I didn't do it this time, is I would find out who the producer was. I didn't. I knew that the people who were doing the filming and stuff, I talked to them, and I knew some of their other work, some of which I didn't, really appreciate. But I didn't find out until they had filmed me. At the end of the last filming is when I realized that Skip Gates was the producer. And we've had this conversation, Jared. If I would have known that Skip Gates was behind that film when they first contacted me, I would have said hell to the no. But I didn't know that. And so I have to live with that. Okay. Because I don't trust, I don't trust Gates. I've seen his documentaries. I don't respect him, as an African scholar, because I don't think he considers himself an African scholar. I think he considers himself a scholar who happens to be Black. So I don't have no time for Skip Gates. But if I would have knowing his commercialization history and other things, no discussion was needed. I would have called it a day. But I didn't know that. I also had no idea what angle they were coming from. Because all I did, and they interviewed me twice. I went up to Brooklyn one time and they interviewed me like most of the day. And then they came to my college and they interviewed me all day. They came at around 7:15. I had a class at 8 o'clock. They came into the classroom and they basically stayed with me until 7:30 that night. And I spent the bulk of that time talking about the FBI and the NYPD and their role in Malcolm's assassination. And when they interviewed me in Brooklyn, I spent the bulk of the time talking about the nation, the FBI, and the NYPD. So I'm thinking, that, I'm giving them some good stuff. And then when I see the film, I'm there all day at my college. And when I see the film, they had 10 seconds. They showed a scene where we were sitting down at my desk. Muhammad was sitting next to me. I guess he asked the question, something like that. And then that was pretty much it. But that wasn't the worst part. I can deal with that. The worst part about that film is that, and it's real clear, now what Gates and whoever funded it, what they were really all about. It was about basically showing the Nation of Islam's role in Malcolm's assassination. It was about simplifying Malcolm's assassination, as complex as it was. They wanted to simplify it to make the point that maybe possibly behind the scenes, the FBI might have, did a little bit here and there, but they had nothing to do with the actual assassination. Same thing to NYPD. That was the political angle of that film. And see, my thing is this, and I don't need to say this to y'all, but the nation deserves to be, pulled out there. No problem with that. That's what I do in my book. But how the hell can you put all this emphasis on the nation, but you ignore all of the disruptive tactics that the FBI and the NYPD were doing? And I well documented it. And this was also real interesting. And I didn't realize until at the end what that was about. When I was talking about the FBI, and I would talk, and I would, sometimes pull out my book and give them a citation and all that type of stuff. Their thing to me was, but do you have a copy of the actual document? Huh? I wrote the damn book 26 years ago. In my office right now, do I have a copy of the damn documents? No, I don't have a copy of the documents. But that is what they needed from what I can gather now, that's what they needed in order to put it in in order to, I guess, validate my statements about the FBI. Even if I'm reading directly from a document, they didn't want to hear it for legal reasons and all that type of stuff. But here's the thing. When it came to talking about the nation and all of the different, all the garbage that the nation was doing, you didn't need no extra documents. They wasn't asking for no damn FBI files and all that when it came to the nation. Whatever you got to say, we want to hear it for the nation. But if you're going to talk about the FBI, we need, for liability and legal reasons, we need to see some type of credible sources type of stuff. And it has to be the actual sources. No, that was that really was a charade. Yeah. And like I said, if I could take it back, I would take it back. My understanding is they're doing a second one, and they need not knock on my door. Not to mention the fact that there was nothing, and I want to make this point real clear, because the more, I've only been able to see this film 1.5 times. I started seeing, I saw it the first time, and I was, And the second time, I couldn't see it. I was watching it with my wife, and we were watching for a little bit, and then I realized I started falling asleep, and then I realized it wasn't that I was tired, it's that I did not want to waste no more time with this bullshit.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. There was nothing in that documentary that represented new information that had not already substantively been covered in my book. Nothing of substance.
And the same can be said about Manning's book.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Manning is so and presented as his own idea of the theory of what happened, the actual players and so forth around Malcolm's assassination. And if I don't remember the quip exactly, but basically he said something to effect that all those books in the 80s didn't amount to much.
On page 490, he says something to the effect that everything written in the 90s is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Which would include Baba Zak, sales.
Yeah.
Right. But you hear something interesting? I talked to Marable maybe about a year or so before his book came out and he transitioned. And we were talking on the phone. And what Marable says to me is he says that, how much he appreciated my book. And he said that my book was the gold standard. So then I was real curious when his book came out to see what he said about my book or about me. And I think I'm a reference. I think I'm a reference somewhere in there. I'm an endnote. I'm a footnote or something like that. But it's like that's not what this guy's telling me, your analysis and your ability to penetrate issues and people, he's giving me all this stuff. And then, like I said, there was like I saw one reference and that was it. I don't know, I mean, I didn't know Marable that well, but I was kind of scratching my head a little bit on that one.
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.